the car situation?
All right, so the week of the 12th, the 12th I went to go look at a car. The 12th I went to go look at a car, and it was in Punxsutawney, and it was a 2005, 2004 Hyundai Elantra. And I saw it, and I immediately fell in love with it. It was a manual shift vehicle. I haven't had one of those in a while, so I was like,
Oh,
"Hey,
neither have I.
right?" So I was like, "I really want this vehicle. I'll come back in 3 days. In 3 days, I'll figure out how to pay for this. I'm not sure how I'll pay for this, but in 3 days, I'll figure it out, and you'll have your money by then." So that started the next day. I had a old Mitsubishi 2004 that I haven't driven in about 2 years. That was sitting at my granddad's place. So I went down there thinking that, I could just put in the key, turn it, and we could drive it down to the junkyard and I get some money for that. When we got there, the tires were flat. We inflated the tires, and then when I turned the key, it didn't
Battery
it didn't make any sound. I'm like, no sound. I'm like, well, that's
flicker, nothing.
that's worse. So we charged the battery. Excuse me, hat hair everywhere. But
I feel you.
but the battery was dead. We charged it, and then it started making the ticking sound, but it wouldn't. It would charge like the when you have the door open, the lights would go on and all that other stuff. But once you turn the key, it would just instantly die. And my granddad's like, "Oh, maybe we could just leave the charger on for a while." And we're about and me and my cousin, who's the one who's been driving me to these things, we were going home, and then my brother's brother sent me a message about this guy that's able to pick up tow away cars, and he'll give you money for them. And the ad said at least 500. I'm like, well, that's about what I would have gotten from Novi. So let's do this. I call him up. He's like, oh, we happen to be in the area where your granddad is, so we'll just be there. So me and my cousin, we turned around, and when we turn around, we hear a snap in her engine. We lift the hood and realize that the belt that connects to the I'm gonna hat hair. I'm gonna say some cars. If you don't understand, that's fine. There's a belt that connects to the alternator, that connects to the cooling system, that connects to the engine. That belt is important because without that belt, the battery doesn't charge even while you're driving it.
The alternator can't change.
Yeah, and the cooling system,
okay.
the gear to the cooling system that is connected to the belt also doesn't cool down the car. So then it quickly starts to overheat. So I was like, oh, I looked at the hood. I'm like, I don't know nothing about cars, but I know a belt's supposed to be here. And Granddad's really good with vehicles. That's why I left my car down there, and that's why he had all the parts to kind of fix the car, or at least try to boot it back up. So like, oh, we'll just turn around and go back to Granddad's because he'll know how to fix it. When we get there, the guys are there, and they're like, oh, your car does not have a catalytic converter. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. They're like, oh, because it doesn't have a catalytic converter, we can give you the whole 500. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So I kind of like haggled with them, and I was able to get at least like 400. But now we had to deal with Amy, my cousin's car. That was how we were going to get home. And my granddad doesn't live like across the street. He lives like a couple towns over in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of you heard of it. So like Amy called her garage, and they were like, oh, we have to move the engine to be able to fix that. And me and Granddad looked at each other. We're like, screw that. We could do that. Well, not move the engine, but we could fix it without doing that. So we get my aunt, which is my cousin's mom, to go get the part. She brings it down, and me and Granddad Granddad broke his neck a couple months ago, so he can't go underneath the car or anything like that. And I don't want him to, like, he's been whole different story. But like, I like, hey, as usual, whenever I had Gene, he would just tell me what to do, because he's really good at that. No one else could be able to keep their cool and tell me what to do and not be over, just flustered, I guess.
Yeah.
So he was able to tell me how to do it, and I did it within like 30 minutes, being able to replace the belt and everything. And then the belt's not that easy.
Oh, wow.
So 30 minutes, the whole jacking up process, getting underneath it, where it needs to be. So we did that, so we were able to go home. But I only got, a fraction of what I wanted for the car. And once again, I promised them in 3 days that I'll be able to get them the whole $1,500. I only got like $400 at this point. So the next day, I wanted to take the family car, the only car that we have, thank you, my love, and take that down to Novi's, is a GMC. And I'm thinking, oh.
The one that you were currently driving up to this point.
Yeah. And the only one that we had, and it came out, even though it was not inspected, it was still used for us to go to the grocery store, to local doctor's appointments. I'm like, okay, well, for local stuff, we could do that for the, and not for long. I know I was driving it legally, but I was like, this is more like the things that we need rather than like, oh yeah, I want to go hang out with a friend. Like, no, we're not gonna do that. So we take it down to Novi's. I end up getting $750 for that. I'm like, that's awesome. So after
Oh,
that,
wow.
I got the 400 and 750, and my fiance's mother covered the remaining balance.
Wait, how much did they want for the Elantra?
1,500.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, and it was inspected, so I didn't have to do that extra step either. So I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, I really
awesome.
this is a great purchase. So we go down to Punxsutawney with the whole 1,500, and I also already planned for the transfer fees and everything else. So I have all that money. So I go down and they're like, oh, we know this place, the notary place. We'll go down there, they take care of the paperwork. So we go down there, we take care. I give the lady the paperwork and everything, and the lady goes, "Your license is expired." I'm like, "Yes, I know. Here is a paper that I was able to print out from the internet from the DMV saying that I paid for my renewal. I'm waiting for other paper from the government to come in, but I was able to print out this paper that says this is a temporary paperwork that says that he's in the process of."
Yeah.
And they look on the computer, they're like, "Yeah, we can't find an expiration date for your license." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "Oh, because we can't find an expiration for your license, new or old, we can't fill out this paperwork because technically you don't have a license." I'm like, I drove here on somebody else's car to get another car because I sold my other car to pay for this
Oh
car.
my god.
So, we had to go home, and the people who were selling the car, they were really understanding. The guy
good.
had a garage, and he was even like, "Hey, if the car is yours, you just can't legally drive it because I had the title, but I didn't have the license. I couldn't get the license plate to put on the back of the car." So he was like, "Yeah, just come up whenever, and we will get the car is yours. We just find a way to make it legal, and then we will be able to let you just drive it off." So I'm like, I don't know how long that could take. Cause like if I was already waiting on paperwork that I didn't get,
Yeah.
and I need to call the
pen
PennDOT and be like, "Hey, I need you to do this other stuff." Like, okay, cool. In 7 to 10 business days, you get something else in the mail. So that was my biggest concern. So, and the worst thing is that the DMVs are only open on certain days of the week. So, ended up that was Wednesday. So I had to wait until Friday to go to the DMV. Friday, we go to the DMV. Within an hour, we were able to clear up the entire situation. I explained to them, and we went through different steps to be able to get my new driver's license. So my driver's license.
You didn't have the paperwork again, did you?
No, and that was another big concern. Like, if they asked me to do it, I would have to wait until the next following month to do that. And there's a lot of stuff that we still had to do. So, so we took care of the DMV. From the DMV, we went to a local notary place. I'm like, oh, I don't want to drive all the way an hour if something else were to come up. So we took care. I went down to another notary place, and we're doing all the paperwork, and it seems to be going smoothly. And when I called, because like when this first happened, I called a notary place in Punxsutawney, and the woman said, "Oh yeah, it'll probably cost like $150 some dollars for the whole process to be done notary wise." And like, oh, I saved that much money. I had that much money in the bank. However, this lady, after we're done filling, and this is my fault. I probably should have asked first. After we were done doing all the paperwork, I was like, all right, we're done. How much do I owe you? I'm ready to pull out 150. She's like 240. I'm like, what?
Oh, like, this is so much more. Holy crap!
Even to this day, my mind's like, I wish I asked prior, or that like I even know.
Yeah, but I can understand why you didn't ask, because I would have assumed the same thing. Yeah. Like, it's the same process, so it would be the same amount, regardless of who you went to. But
exactly what I was thinking. So I was like, okay, well, I'm shocked, but luckily I recounted my money. I'm like, okay, I can barely make this work. Because today is Friday. I want to get the car on like Tuesday at the earliest, but now it's like several days. I'm like, I just want to get the car. So I pay her the money. We get the license plate. We drive up to Punxsutawney, get the car, and boom! I am now a new owner of a very sleek looking 2004 Hyundai Elantra. There we go. I had to remember the whole title.
Nice.
So
Holy crap!
That was my week. That was my week last week.
I mean, I'm very glad that you were able to get it all sorted out, but like a process that like theoretically in your mind, you're like, okay, I just got to do this, this, and this. And you took like 7 side quests to have to get to that point. Oh my gosh.
It was definitely a fun experience. It definitely shows me that, well, not shows me, how do I say this? It reinforces the idea that I am so determined that no matter how hard I get knocked down, I get back up again, like that one old song that no one else seems to remember.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I feel like the vast majority of people that I work with, if they had encountered one or even two of those obstacles that you had encountered, they would have been like,
Yep.
I'm over it, whatever, forget it, I don't want the car anymore, you know. So but I'm also very glad that like the people that you were buying the car from were understanding about the whole process, and that like you had people to be able to help you, and just but the whole thing with your cousin's car and everything, oh my gosh.
That was those were fun days. Those were
I would have lost my mind.
Keep in mind, those weren't like oh, this was like a 3-4 hours, like the car thing with like the Mitsubishi, that was from like 10 until like 7. That was a whole day thing of trying to figure out what was wrong, waiting for people, waiting for things and everything else. And then the fixing things that we could fix and whatnot. So like, it was definitely an experience. But I think I'm stronger for it. Like I would have to.
Yeah, I mean, very resourceful. You figured it all out, so.